In the spring of 1962, the white sands of Hampton, New Hampshire, only commercial beach in the state, is awaiting the arrival of the vacationist. Its clean sand and blue waters, a mecca for visitors from all parts of the country, is but a refuge for peace and serenity. As the sun travels north, this will soon be transformed into the playground of the Atlantic. Memorial Day brings us to the threshold of a new season. The police department, after a winter of routine activities and training, is now prepared to undertake the added responsibility for the protection of the lives, property, and safety of thousands. This is the story of the Hampton, New Hampshire Police Department. 43 men and 3 dogs. In January of 1962, a canine corps was added to the ranks of the department. The training was supervised by members of the Pease Air Force Base Dog Sentry Unit. Phase 1 of the training consisted of basic obedience. Phase 2 included agitation and sentry training. The dog, acting upon command, was taught to obey and protect his handler. This team constitutes the most effective means of law enforcement. Before the activation of the Canine Corps, area business establishments were targets for nighttime burglars. The dog's acute sense of smell, combined with the command search, alerts the officer of an unwanted visitor. The team moves into action, and another apprehension is made. The prisoner is taken into custody under the watchful eye of the officer's canine partner. The middle of June, parking meters are installed in preparation for the influx of tourists. At department headquarters, final plans are formulated to handle the increase in population from 6,500 to over 100,000 people. The mission of the police department is to observe, deter, detect, and enforce the laws of the state and community. In 1961, a total of 498 criminal complaints and arrests, combined with 228 motor vehicle violations and arrests, were handled by this department. Hampton Beach is entered from the south on scenic route number 1A. Through this toll house often passes up to 60,000 vehicles in one day. Entrance is gained from the north through the historic town of Hampton, which plays host to thousands of motorists daily. State motor vehicle reports indicate that the volume of traffic on this highway is the heaviest since the pre-New Hampshire Turnpike period of 1949. It is hard to believe that for 8 months of the year, Hampton Beach is a small seacoast resort with a population of 6,500 people. From Memorial Day until Labor Day, the beach is a vacation mecca with a population of over 100,000 that turns over completely 4 times in that period. Further complicating the population explosion is the influx of weekenders who swarm to Hampton's windswept beaches for midsummer relief from the heat. Many of the visitors are strangers to the area. The police officer must have an extensive knowledge of area hotels, businesses, and other accommodations, as well as general information concerning beach activities. Tourist attractions include the famed shoreline, the 50-acre state park, casino ballroom, daily band concerts, fireworks, beauty contests, and the season's climax, Festival Week. There are approximately 733 parking meters, which must be constantly checked by the 5 officers of the meter division. Violations must be issued to enforce parking regulations and thereby ensure an orderly flow of traffic. Of the thousands of motorists A few fail to observe traffic regulations.
Headquarters to car 2.
2, go ahead.
Report of an accident on Winnicott Road, opposite Garland's. Personal injury involved. Ambulance has been notified.
This twisted mass of steel was caused by unreasonable speed. It results in major property damage to both vehicles and personal injury to both operators. In an effort to enforce highway safety, modern means such as police radar is employed. A radio wave is reflected from the violator's vehicle and is recorded on a meter in the cruiser. The officer radios the information to an interception team. Through the cooperation of the Department of Safety and the Hampton Police Department, many radar checks are held. Line is a marking approved by the State Highway Commissioner. It must not be crossed unless there is an emergency existing, the vehicle is turning into a side road adjacent to the highway, or the operator can see the end of the solid yellow line. Crossing such a line constitutes one of the most dangerous violations. Offenders must be prosecuted. Alcohol and gasoline don't mix. Driving while under the influence of intoxicating liquor constitutes the most serious of motor vehicle violations. An operator being charged is given a sobriety test. By the New Hampshire statute, 0.15% of alcohol in the blood is prima facie evidence that such person is under the influence. This subject's blood contained 0.24% by test. This is such a serious charge that the arresting officer must testify to the court as to the circumstances of the case. Conviction of this charge usually means the loss of the operator's license for a period of up to 1 year, plus a heavy fine. In 1961, 14 motorists were convicted for driving under the influence. 14 potential killers were taken off the highways. Saturday night, the BeCh is invaded by teenagers in such numbers that sidewalks are jammed and traffic is slowed to a crawl. The traffic problem is still acute as the social life of the evening reaches its peak. Officers are assigned to over-congested areas to ensure a smooth flow of traffic. Fire lanes and emergency routes must be kept open at all. pedestrians consist almost entirely of teenagers. Their wardrobes consisting of sweaters displaying such slogans as Moscow University, USA Necking Team, Drinking Team, and Have Jug, Will's Mug. This is unsupervised American youth. They are on their own for a weekend. To control their actions, the Canine Corps is used as an effective measure to maintain order. As much as possible, the groups are not allowed to congregate or block sidewalks. Meanwhile, some adults are enjoying an evening at the casino ballroom. Watching the spectacular display of fireworks, or listening to the Hampton BeCh concert band. Perhaps one of the most effective measures to curb teenage drinking was the establishment of unannounced roadblocks at both entrances and exits to the beach. Armed with a New Hampshire law that makes it illegal for minors to have alcoholic beverages in their persons, roadblock teams stopped every car containing teenagers. During the summer of 1961, a total of 139 arrests were made under this statute. It is not uncommon to confiscate many cases of beer from one vehicle driven by a teenager. It is impossible to control the entire flow of alcoholic beverages into the beach by means of road checks. Teenagers find other means for procuring beer, either through unscrupulous adults or fraudulent identification. Because of this, cottages are kept under strict surveillance and numerous raids are conducted. On many occasions, the living conditions were found to be below health standards. Several cottages were closed by the local health officials. Occupants and owners were charged accordingly. In the course of investigation and apprehension, these weapons were found. They range from a screwdriver to a machine gun. The influx of the tourists does not interfere with the routine performance of duties. The patrolman maintains constant surveillance of all business establishments during hours of darkness. In 1961, a total of 232 nightlights were found to be off. After the area has been checked, it is reported to the station for recording. 399 business doors were found unlocked. 81 windows found open. In situations such as this, a printed departmental form is filled out by the officer and left at the business establishment to inform the owners of their oversight. The constant checking and patrolling by the uniformed police officer is a strong deterrent factor in preventing breaking and entering in the nighttime. It is well after midnight. Most of the law-abiding citizens have returned to their cottages or hotels. As the BeCh sleeps, the police department still functions. A large percentage of the street population now consists of drinking teenagers. When a teenager is brought to headquarters, his age is determined to ascertain whether he is a juvenile or a minor. If classified as a juvenile, who is a person under the age of 18, he is either released in the custody of his parents or a form letter is sent to his home relating the facts of the case. If he is 18 or over, he is detained and then released on bail for his appearance in court. Over 70 letters have been sent to parents notifying them of their sons' and daughters' actions. Over 60 arrests were made for teenage drunkenness. This is an example of a high school athlete vacationing without supervision at Hampton BeCh. Prisoners are searched before being locked in the cell block. Not all are cooperative. Some become unruly and resist. In this case, considerable damage was done to the cell block. The prisoners always are the losers. The time, 2:30 a.m. Cruiser call, signal 19, the dreaded fatal accident. This is the accident scene. Here, a 19-year-old boy lost his life. The weapon was a sports car, a narrow road, and a bottle of whiskey. His lifeless body lies underneath the chassis of his sports car. His blood test showed 0.15% of alcohol. According to the statute, he was driving under the influence of intoxicating liquor. Arrival at the accident scene, the first duty of the officer is to determine if there is personal injury. The officer must then protect the scene with warning devices and, if necessary, reroute oncoming traffic. Investigation as to the cause of the accident must be made and any violations determined. Physical means of recording the accident, such as photographs and measurements, are taken. Statements and other information are obtained from the operators. A report is then filed at headquarters. Inclement weather deserves added caution on the part of the driver. In this accident, an unlighted vehicle was parked on the traveled portion of the highway. The car was struck on the side by an oncoming vehicle. All accident reports are filed at headquarters for insurance purposes. Rain or shine, the foot patrolman must patrol his beat. When the call light from the station flashes, he must immediately call headquarters. Relief from the cruiser men enable the beat man to take a coffee break. One of the many public services the police officer performs is that of delivering messages. During 1961, 133 emergency messages were delivered by the department. Money escorts constitute an important police function. Last year, 50 such escorts were provided. Police quarters also served as a first aid station. Qualified personnel staff this section. Patients are treated for a wide variety of injuries ranging from splinters to near drowning. Lost children, of which there are many, seek the help of the police officer. A police department must be able to cope with all types of tragedies. At this site, 2 construction workers were asphyxiated by lethal marsh gas. A police officer is taking a sample of the water for chemical analysis by the State Department of Health. On June 21, 1960, an armed robbery was staged at this bank. $16,500 was taken. Being a member of the FDIC, the Federal Bureau of Investigation was immediately contacted. Agents, along with state, county, and local officials, carried on an effective investigation. Through their diligent efforts, the perpetrator of the crime, along with the stolen money, was apprehended within 48 hours. He was brought to trial and sentenced to serve 10 years in a federal penitentiary. Modern scientific methods of investigation were employed. Suspects were fingerprinted and interrogated. An efficient police department must seek the cooperation of other law enforcement agencies. The Rockingham County Sheriff's Department, the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department, and other area agencies work in close unity with the Hampton police. During a recent situation, a call for help to these agencies provided a total of 125 officers for emergency service at Hampton BeCh. The season is drawing to a close. The men have earned a well-deserved moment of rest. The impact of each of us upon the moral and ethical advancement of the world of our day can be measured in direct terms of service to the community. As law enforcement officers, these men have as great an opportunity to serve as any men on earth. The true